I would consider myself one of the very few, if any, truly investor-friendly attorneys out there. Like I told you, this is what I love doing. So, as long as I can make some money, I don't ever plan on being a millionaire, but as long as I can make some money and make everybody happy and have you make some money, then that's what I want to see. The recording process is simply a formality. You can transfer ownership of a property by handing one deed to somebody else. It doesn't need to be recorded to transfer property. Just because a lot of people think as you're buying a property out of foreclosure that all prior title issues are taken care of. Absolutely not the case.
Welcome back to I Buy Real Estate, your free step-by-step guide so you can buy real estate. Today we got special guests in the building locally here in Buffalo, New York. It's actually my attorney that I personally use myself for my own real estate closings. Richard Boorman with Boorman Law, the best attorney in Buffalo.
Just Buffalo?
He is the law. Welcome, Rick. Welcome.
Thanks, Way. Just Buffalo, though?
No, everywhere. You're the man. You're the man all around.
I'm just kidding.
You want to talk a little bit about your firm?
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and hopefully we can do many more of these videos. But, I understand that this is more for investors and, the different type of investment strategies. So, I would consider myself one of the very few, if any, truly investor-friendly attorneys out there. And what I mean by that, there are other real estate attorneys in our area that will work with investors. They'll get your deal done essentially, but it's not really investor friendly in my book. That's a typical residential transaction for you. And obviously they'll give you advice along the way. And I've kind of taken it to the next level. Once I get into things, I would say I'm a little bit OCD about things. So I kind of take things to the next step. So when I first started working with investors, it was about a year ago now, I started doing research from beginning to end. What are the best methods for these people? It always seemed that it was one of those areas that had a lot of potential, but nobody really knew the right way to do it. There was no uniform way of doing it. And that's something I've been working on. When I say I'm investor friendly, I work with investors from beginning to end. Essentially, that's the best way to do it. For me to try to change your process in the middle is much more difficult than if we were to start from square one with setting up the correct type of business that you should be in and how to elect yourself as the correct tax entity in order to maximize your profits. And then even jumping into contract formation. I mean, that's the base of what investors work with. So you can't just pull a contract offline and, just have some Joe Schmo say, this looks good to me. This looks, like an investment contract. And it causes confusion for all parties. And I think a lot of the investors, the way you could probably speak to it is that you probably see with a lot of your investor friends that the transactions seem to get stalled at points. There's no clear direction. There's no accountability on people. That's step 2 in my book, is drafting a contract that can hold people responsible and ultimately keep the flow of the transaction going, because in what investors are doing, speed is everything. That could mean the difference. One day can mean the difference between the buyer backing out, listing the house with somebody, someone swooping in. There's a lot of factors there, from contract formation even through evictions. So after you buy, if you're holding them, I handle the eviction aspect of things, and even through dissolution of your entity. I mean, you're ready to sell your properties and you're ready to get out of the game. You've made enough money. I can even help out with that. So when I say investor friendly, I truly work from square one to finish and help alter your strategies along the way, because I do work with so many investors. It allows me to see what's working, what's not working, what's efficient, how to avoid certain scenarios. That's basically what we've been doing for the last year here. And it seemed to work out very well for everybody involved.
Beautiful, 100%. So I want to follow up on what you said, because I don't know if you remember a deal that we did in the past, 415 Lisbon. Not sure if you remember that one, but because we do so many deals, but it was a pre-foreclosure. And what happened was I first used another attorney. He asked for the mortgage payoff from the lender. They ignored him, and the attorney just gave up. Then I asked the deal to you. You asked for the payoff, didn't get it. Then just tell the viewers what'd you do to get it done.
I can't remember that exact situation, but I would imagine by the look on your face, I did get it done. So, like I said, I mean, it's all about staying hungry in this. There's a lot of attorneys that don't, and I don't mean to keep getting back to negative because that's not it. It's just certain things are worth, people's times and other things aren't, and when I invest in something, I'm still hungry in what I do. So I'm young, I'm single, for all you ladies out there.
Yeah, hit 'em
Um,
up.
and I don't have a family, and this is what I do when I wake up in the morning. So I do weekends. I don't I don't take vacations. This is it. I love what I do, and so when a problem presents itself, I make sure it gets taken care of. And I look at it like a challenge. I don't look at it like, well, this is going to eat up too much of my time, and I'm just going to move on to the next thing. Things got to happen. And I understand it. And again, I come back to time is everything with investors. So we got to get them done. So it can't just sit in a stack of problem files to come back to. It's got to get done right away. That's
So
I'm assuming that's what happened.
yeah. So what actually happened? You actually sent the mortgage lender a threatening letter saying, if you don't get me payoff, I'm gonna send a letter to your boss. If they don't respond, I'm gonna send it to their boss. So they were like, "Whoa, this guy's a real deal. Here's the payoff. Got it done. Got it closed. We made money. Everyone's happy." So I just want to say, when people say all attorneys are the same, no, they are not. The right
Absolutely.
attorneys, like Rick, are gonna save deals, which ultimately is gonna make you money.
Absolutely. And
And
sometimes you do got to lay down the hammer. So
yeah,
that's
and I think there's times when, like, you told me you were working overnights, anytime, even at nighttime. I think at 9 o'clock when I call you, you pick up the phone. So you are one of those hardworking attorneys that are constantly working. So all the kudos
exactly.
to you.
I was in the office till 3 in the morning last night, back in here at 8 a.m.
There we go. There
Like
we
I said, this
go.
is what I do. So
So Rick's business is going to be posted in the description below if you want to use him for your deals, which I highly recommend. So let's get to it. All the viewers want to know, with the virus that's going on and the shelter in place, are your law firm still closing deals?
oh man, as long as I got air in my lungs, I'm closing the deal. So right now, I checked in this morning, and again, if you follow my Facebook page, Boorman Law PLLC, I provide. I'm not going to say I've been doing daily, but anytime something happens important, I am updating the group just so everybody's involved. So right now, as of this morning, the only surrounding county to Erie and Niagara that's not recording deeds is Genesee County. As of a few days ago, there was a few other counties that were on that list. They've since removed themselves. I would imagine in the coming days, Genesee is going to also remove themselves from that list and going to be forced to reopen. It just creates a logistical nightmare. In any event, I can still close these deals even though the clerk's office is closed. There's certain techniques and things that we have that I can put in play that will allow us to still close this deal. If you do have a deal in Genesee County, despite the clerk's office not being open currently, but we're still cranking them out.
Okay, so I know a lot of businesses that shut down with, like, the water company or maybe even some other title companies. How are you overcoming those obstacles?
Absolutely. So currently, Tonawanda is still testing. Kenmore shut down. Amherst, I believe, is shut down. They're not doing any testing. Cheektowaga is shut down. Village of Lancaster is open. So it's case by case. So if we're talking about town compliances, I can hold escrow. So I drafted an escrow agreement that allows us to just hold some money back until we can ensure that all the systems are working properly. Water companies, same thing. We're just having to rely on old bills and kind of it's a case by case basis. But using the information in front of me, I'm still closing the deals. It's obviously taking a lot longer to pull the documents together, but this week alone, I mean, I think most of my closings closed on time still, or ahead of schedule. So, when I say it's taking longer, there's just more documents that I need to collect in order to verify things. Whereas I used to be able to pull them directly from the municipalities, like the water companies and that. We can still get it done. There's ways around it. It's just about being creative and finding a solution that's amenable to everybody. So.
Great, great. So I think you told me before that the fastest closing you done was 9 days. Is that
That's not the
still,
fastest. I just did that the other day.
or you said the other day? So
I think I did 5 one time.
in
Yeah.
times like these, you can still close deals in 9 days.
I haven't tested that right now, but
Okay.
but maybe I wouldn't rule it out. But yeah, I would think I could.
Wow.
I can't make any guarantees, obviously, but I haven't tried it since this whole thing started last week. I just haven't had any contracts come my way that needed to close that quickly. But you want to try it? I'm game.
Look at that. Like he just gets results. Let's go. For any of the new investors that want to get in the game, maybe wholesaling or fix and flipping or buying holding, what's your advice to them to make your job easier?
To make my job easier. So again, I think it comes back to let me work with you from square one. For me to try to revise your plan, which may be a good plan, but the volume that I see and the people that I work with has allowed me to create processes that I can assure you are very efficient and avoids those stalls that you realize throughout the process. Obviously, if a title issue comes up that delays things, that's a different story. But just getting the documents in that we need and keeping the process moving, making sure searches and title are coming in. There's ways to craft the contract and your assignments depending on what you're doing to ensure that these are actually getting done timely. So make my job easier. Let me work from you and design a strategy from you from square one. Will cost a little bit of money. I mean, obviously, I don't work for free, but I'm not outrageous. I'm not here to gouge anybody. Like I told you, this is what I love doing. So as long as I can make some money, I don't ever plan on being a millionaire, but as long as I can make some money and make everybody happy and have you make some money, then that's what I want to see. I want to see everybody happy. So let me work from square one. Let me form your entity. If you already got it, we can review it to make sure it was actually done properly. If you did it for like $300, you probably didn't do it right. And you probably need me to review it because you don't have the LLC protection that you probably need. But let me form your contract. Let me form your strategy. You tell me how you work, and we can work on a plan. But so I think that would be the best way. You gotta set your building blocks up, basically.
Yeah, so for any of the new investors that's committed and serious, first contact Rick. He is going to charge, but it's a very reasonable fee. That way, you guys are on the same page. He's going to make sure your entity set up correctly. He's going to make sure the contract set up correctly. And he's going to make sure you're protected, that any deals you get on the contract is not going to fall off. So that way, all the ducks are lined up, and you're going to get them close at the finish line. So
Absolutely.
let's go.
Absolutely. That's the whole goal. I don't get paid until you close anyhow, so I want to make sure you close. So
Exactly, exactly. So I know you have employees right now. What tasks are you giving your employees to do at home?
Sure. So right now, I am taking precautions in my office. I'm still closing in my office, as you can tell, I'm here. But I'm limiting my staff. I have one paralegal here, and I have my accountant here, and the rest of my staff I have working on laptops at home. And right now, it's working. Obviously, like I said, things are a little bit slower, but just the logistics of everything with not being able to actually go to the clerk's office and having to do these different escrows, it is slowing down the process a little bit. But we're still pushing them along, and I still have a full staff working from home. So we're good to go.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so talk to me about your business today in these times, offensively and defensively.
Offensively, are we talking in terms of investors specifically, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, are you still promoting yourself out there? Like, are you giving yourself other streams of income?
Right. No, as of right now, this is what I'm focusing on. This is like I said, this is what I love doing. I don't do anything else, which allows me to actually to provide that quality that I think I exemplify. And I think if you talk to anybody I work with, they would say that I go above and beyond what they've ever seen from another attorney. So this is what I focus on. I don't do anything else other than real estate. Well, I shouldn't say that. I do corporate formations. I do things very closely tied, so ancillary to real estate. Business consulting. I do business law. I do estates. I do evictions, landlord tenant. So I do a lot of that stuff. Real estate is pretty much it, man.
Got it, got it. Beautiful. Okay, so One of my Instagram followers asked what entity to open for subject to the existing mortgage. Could you sign? I think he's talking about what can I do to prevent lenders going for the do not sell clause. How do I prevent that? Could you shine some light on this?
Sure. So a traditional lender is not going to remove that clause from their mortgage. Obviously, that mortgage would be in play probably before you even get to that seller in the first place. But from what I understand is, and what I see, people are still doing this. And let me put a little caveat on here is that you're not supposed to transfer the property subject to the mortgage. It's a breach of the mortgage, and it could technically trigger an acceleration clause in the mortgage, which would cause it to be immediately due. Now, with that being said, a lot of people are still doing it, and I haven't heard anybody triggering it quite yet. So, in essence, the strategy there is that these investors are the way that they're doing it, and is that they're not notifying the lender. So the correct way to really do it is to do an assumption. But I understand that that's not always available. And, being investors, you have to come up with creative solutions to problems that deals that typically can't get done. So along those same lines, I could never recommend to you to breach a contract. But the way that you would do it is the way they would do it is that you would close on the deal, record the deed, you wouldn't notify the lender, and then you would just continue making the payments. And I think that's what I think that was the question. Ultimately, it's if the lender finds out, it may cause an issue, but if they don't, and there's no reason to look into it, and payments keep being made, you may end up working out for the duration of whatever the agreement is. So that is the way to do it, is you just wouldn't notify the lender of the transfer without doing the assumption.
Got it, got it. So I was told by a few people that if you deed it to like a land deed, that it's less suspicious to the lender if they did find a change of ownership. Is that a possibility,
Are you
or
talking about a land contract?
not a land contract, but you deed it to let's say it's like 123 Main Street. You would deed it to the new owner, which is you, would be 123 Main Street land. Is that a possibility, or that's just focus on here?
I think the issue is beyond that. I think you're going to record those either way to protect your interest. I think either way you have an equal chance of that lender finding out, which is ultimately what you're trying to avoid, is them finding out that the property's been sold so they don't trigger that due on sale clause. So if you're recording any kind of deed or interest in the property, it literally, the index comes up as soon as they search the person's name. So any documents that are related to it are going to pop up, and they're going to take a look at it if there's a reason for them to check in on it. So to me, if you're recording those, I don't think there's an advantage one way or another, because they're going to see it on record, whether you use a deed or whatever instrument that we're talking about.
Got it, got it. So here's an idea. What if you have the seller sign everything, all like the deed documents, but you don't record it? That way there's no public information of a change in ownership. Is that a possibility?
You could absolutely do that. Now, let me add this in. So the recording process is simply a formality. You can transfer ownership of a property by handing one deed to somebody else. It doesn't need to be recorded to transfer property. The reason you record is to protect your interest in the property. If that makes any sense, the reason you record it is to protect you as a buyer. Because if you don't record it and that seller then racks up a whole bunch of judgments, that even though you transferred it prior, technically by handing the deed over, those judgments are going to attach to your property. And that's something you don't want to do. And a lot of the times, the reason that you're getting the deal is because we were able to resolve some kind of title issue that didn't go through a traditional means. So I wouldn't recommend not recording, because you could end up putting yourself in a very bad situation where you're going to owe someone else's debt, and you're never going to be able to sell your property.
Got it, got it. Makes sense, makes sense. So I know you've done hundreds, if not thousands of deals. Is there like one story that comes to mind with a deal that just had numerous amount of obstacles, but you were able to push it to close?
Literally just had one last week that there was a break in the chain of title. Basically, 5 people owned a property, 4 people transferred it out. That 5th person died. And now, mind you, this is like 5 transfers ago. So nobody knew who these people were. It was basically quick claim, quick claim, quick claim. They never did searches, so it never came up prior. And then I think it ended up going through foreclosure at some point, and someone bought it out of foreclosure, must have not gotten an owner's policy or what have you. The fifth person that did not transfer the property, so basically 1/5 of the property was not owned by the current owner, so they couldn't transfer all of the interest in the property. They had passed away. I knew that just by doing some searches and finding out that person had passed away at some point in time. And I kid you not, I tracked down the 2 heirs of that person. I was able to locate them through different means and different searches. I mean, it took me, I think I was in the office at like 1:30 in the morning and finally got this guy's address that I needed. I drove all the way out. It was about a 45-minute drive. Drove out there, showed up at 8 in the morning. I think I finally got there. I left at 7, got there at 8, knocked on the guy's door. Turns out, and mind you, this could not, it's possible that this wasn't the guy's house, or he was passed away himself, or he moved out of the area. So I had no idea coming into the situation whether the person even still lived there. And luckily, I showed up at the door and had my affidavit that I needed signed, and was able to get it done right on the spot. Unfortunately, we haven't closed on it, but I mean, that's, to me, that's just another example. I mean, I've probably done things like that. I make house calls and things like that when things need to get done. So that comes to mind. I mean, we're going to close on that one shortly, but that was a huge pain that, I think most attorneys would have gave up on and wouldn't have taken it that extra step, and that property would still be sitting and that investor would not have made their money, and we are going to close. So that turned out really well.
Wow. I don't know many attorneys that would drive out to a seller's house, not knowing if he's going to be there, and just get it done. Like,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Good stuff.
And that's the problem. I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't see what's behind the scenes. I mean, they just think like you said earlier, all real estate attorneys are the same. I can guarantee you they're not. I mean, that's one example. That's something I would say, people see my deals getting closed, but they don't see why they're getting closed or how quickly and those extra steps that you sometimes need to take to make sure it goes forward. Right now, is this a pace that I can keep up forever? No, but for right now and for the foreseeable, at least 5-6 years, this is what I'm invested in. So, I'm going to keep it pumping as long as I can.
Got it. So to follow up on purchasing from foreclosures and foreclosures and auctions, what liabilities does the buyers have? Because I know they're purchasing it, they don't have. Talk to me about like liens and judgments. Is everything going to be waived when you purchase it, or how does that work?
I could go on about this one for a while, but just to keep it short, no. Just because a lot of people think as you're buying a property out of foreclosure that all prior title issues are taken care of. Absolutely not the case. First of all, if we're just talking about the big one, judgments. If a creditor wasn't named in the foreclosure action, it's not released. So if there's a prior judgment that they were not named in that foreclosure action, were not put on notice, then they could come back and it would still be a lien against the property. So there's still a lot of risk involved. So it's not something you should be doing by yourself or with, someone that is not really familiar with foreclosures and the tax auction. And the tax auction itself is its whole different animal. And I can get into the risks of that, but it's probably a better conversation for someone that's, for specific scenarios.
Deal by deal scenarios. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So great. Thank you for your time, Rick. Before we end it, Rick, you got any advice or words of encouragement in these uncertain times for all the viewers out there?
Right now, this is a good time for investors to get out there. A lot of for sale by owners going up. So right now, I'd say take advantage, get it cranking, and let's get some deals done. So
awesome. So if you were entertained or got value, click the like button and subscribe for more content. If you got any questions to ask Rick, make sure to comment below and share to help others just like yourself. Thank you, Rick. I'll see you again.
See you guys.
Take care.